I'm Schindler, stopping in for my coffee break today with Brent at the Naughty Book Kitties. The covers of my books show how night and day different my debut, A Blue So Dark, is from my second novel, Playing Hurt. In A Blue So Dark, we've got a teen girl who is struggling to care for her schizophrenic mother. The book also explores the possible connection between mental illness and creativity. Playing Hurt is a steamy summer romance between two former athletes. One thing that stays the same in both of my books is that they both feature a very poetic, lyrical style of writing. I'd honestly have to say that the first draft is always the hardest part of the writing process for me. I really prefer revision to the first draft. In fact, I write extensive notes and outlines and put those next to my keyboard, and that allows me to feel more like I'm actually revising than drafting the novel the first time around. This makes me far more of a plotter than a pantser. A plotter being a writer who works from an outline, and a pantser someone who kind of flies by the seat of their pants as they draft and allows the book to take whatever shape it wants to. A pantser is someone who discovers the book as they're writing it, as opposed to a plotter who knows what the book is before they start drafting. One instance when I was not a plotter, when I was more of a pantser, was the last revision I did for Playing Hurt. Initially, that book was completely about the difference between being in love with someone and just loving someone. The first draft found Chelsea, who had a boyfriend back home, going on a summer vacation with her family and finding herself falling head over heels in love with one of the guides at the resort in a way she had never fallen for her boyfriend back home. So the entirety of that book was about learning the difference between loving someone and being passionately in love. After I sold A Blue So Dark to Flux, I revisited the manuscript for Playing Hurt, which was not called Playing Hurt at that time, and reread it because I knew something was missing. I just wasn't sure what. And as I read it, I was really struck by how athletic Chelsea seemed. All of those outdoor adventures, fishing, hiking, all of that was there in the original manuscript. So I started playing with the idea. I thought, well, what if Chelsea is an athlete? And then I thought, no, what if she was an athlete? And I began to craft Chelsea's backstory using what was already present in the original manuscript. So that was one of the few times that I allowed my characters to tell me who they were instead of me insisting to my characters who they should be. So it was one of the few times that I stopped being a plotter and started to be a pantser. So that just shows you, as an author, what can happen when you open up yourself to using a different technique than you're used to. I read across genres, as these bookcases behind me reveal. I read it all: sci-fi, poetry, children's, YA, classics, you name it, I read it. I always did read across genres to some extent, but my cross-genre reading really exploded in college. I was a literature major, and when you've got a test coming down the road, you don't have the luxury of saying, I can't get into this book, and tossing it aside. You have to get into it, you have to finish it. So my appreciation of all genres really did explode in college, and my cross-genre reading has really influenced my writing. I write in multiple genres, and I feel really, really lucky to have established my multiple genre writing right off the bat. I was able to follow up my literary young adult novel, A Blue So Dark, with a romance, Playing Hurt. The third novel I will release will be a middle grade novel. It'll be my first middle grade. It's going to be released by Dial in 2012, and I'm still pretty early on in the development process, so I don't have cover art. I don't have an official title. I do know the book will be released under a different title it was acquired under, but this will be the first of my novels to feature original art, which just excites me to no end. And for those of you who loved A Blue So Dark, I think you'll be happy to find out that the protagonist in my middle grade is also a young artist. So be sure to keep an eye out for my debut middle grade, summer of 2012. Thanks to Brent for allowing me and my constant companion Jake to come over and have a coffee break at the Naughty Book Kitties. I'd like to encourage the rest of you to check out my 2 young adult novels, A Blue So Dark and Playing Hurt. Thanks again, Brent.